Okay, so since I've never done a video like this before, I think it's best that I emulate the same behavior I've seen in videos done by actual creepy channels. So, yeah, here we go. Evangelion is among Japan's most popular animes ever produced. It aired back on October 4th, 1995, and while some consider it to be one of the most controversial animes out there, many others consider it a masterpiece. Okay, that's fucked up. I'll just talk normally. Love you, Scare Theater. Please have me as a guest commentator, even though I totally made fun of you just now. Yeah, so anyway, Evangelion's apparently a really super rad anime about big ass robots that bleed and shit. And I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you saying that I love the show on the count of the fact that I just never actually watched the show. It was only until recently that I saw the trailer for 3+1 that I kinda got interested in watching it. The thing is, Evangelion has a very convoluted timeline of production, at least when you're someone like me who's on the outside looking in. It has a ton of content, a ton of DVDs, a ton of Blu-rays, and a ton of movies and adaptations, so it was hard for me to find a point to start off with. That's when I decided, fuck it, I'ma see what the subreddit's all about. That's when I saw this curious little post. The user, Super Honda Nut, which, by the way, I know you're watching this, dude. Your name's a cartoon, so it's really hard to take this seriously, so I'ma just call you OP from now on. Said he found a curious little issue with his most recent purchase of Neon Genesis Evangelion Collection 07. By the way, is it Evangelion or Evangel? He states that he just recently got the entirety of the original Evangelion series on DVD, and after watching all of it, it seemed normal at first until he gets to this one DVD, that of course being the aforementioned Collection 07. Everything seems fine until he goes to the Maggie files and selects Shigure. After about 12 seconds on the menu, a short clip of an Asian woman laying down on bed in her bikini begins to play, and then after about a few seconds, the clip stops and returns to the regular menu. Confused by this, the OP asked the subreddit if they had any clues as to who he had just seen, and why such a thing existed on an Evangelion DVD of all things. After this, he soon elaborates into more detail about the DVD itself, where he obtained it, and who he believes he saw. First, the DVD itself. The OP claims to have obtained it from this local DVD store at a mall in Australia, which is where he lives. The store owner said that he had obtained a large part of his anime collection from a collector in Sydney. This is important because after seeing this little clip from the DVD, the OP went ahead and googled whether or not someone else has seen this half-naked chick before. To his surprise, practically nobody had claimed to see any such phenomenon before, except for one user on the Rooster Teeth forum who had claimed to see the exact same thing. This user, who goes by the username versus Man or VS Man, describes the very same incident. Same DVD, same condition, same Asian lady. What makes things more interesting is the fact that VS Man hails from Sydney, Australia, and also has a large collection of anime DVDs, just like the same guy as the store owner had mentioned. So it's highly likely that the OP is currently in possession of the same exact DVD as VS Man once had. The OP then states how he and his friends both believe that the woman seen in the video is now a retired porn actress by the name of Annabelle Chong. Side note, Annabelle Chong's life story is actually pretty dark and tragic, yet totally unrelated to the subject. I highly recommend you watch her documentary, which is related to this topic, but I'll get to that in a bit. Anyways, back to the original post. The OP states how he wanted to contact VS Man, but he's been inactive on Rooster Teeth for about 12 years now, so it'd be pretty hard to get in touch with him. After that, he said he'll be contacting his local store in the next coming days. Okay, so we're gonna stop right here for a sec before unraveling the entire story even further. First, I'm sure all of you have the same question in mind. Is this fake? Now, depending on the way you've asked that question, you're either asking if the OP himself is fake and just totally made up this story for shits and giggles, or if the DVD he owns is fake. Let me answer the first question by stating that I highly doubt the OP is faking the story. For one, there's honestly no reason for him to fake the story. He's not really gaining anything out of this, save for maybe having a few chuckles that a bunch of gullible Evangelion users on Reddit are believing his story, but that just doesn't seem to be the case. He's not even promoting his own YouTube channel, which is one thing I guess you could argue he's trying to gain out of this, but looking at his past videos, it doesn't seem like he's interested in elevating his YouTube career. So what about the DVD itself? If the OP isn't faking it, then could it be possible that the DVD is in fact a bootleg. Honestly, at the time, that was the only thing that I and many other users thought. Yet there was something very odd about the DVD that I couldn't really shrug off. See, I'm not really an expert in DVDs or media production in general, but just as a basic editor on YouTube videos, I know highly credible. I could tell that the timeline of this DVD loop made no sense. If we were to examine the video the OP posted, you could see that the DVD is looping the menu normally, yet when it cuts to Annabelle Chong, it's a really hard cut, like really hard. It can barely function as indicated by this jumbled mess of pixels here. So that indicates that this most likely was a mistake. After contacting Ava Monkey, who is both the moderator of the subreddit and someone who is incredibly knowledgeable on the DVD releases of Evangelion, he's also pretty much doubting that this is a bootleg. During my exchange with Ava Monkey, he also gave me 2 more instances of people claiming to see this little Easter egg, as they had called it, not knowing what they had seen was probably not meant to be there in the first place. One of these instances was from someone who reviewed it over at michaeldvd.com, who, funny enough, is also from Australia. In this review, the reviewer, who I assume is Michael, talks briefly of this little incident. Quote, "If I might suggest something, select Shigure and just leave it on screen for a little while. After a short time, you will get an Easter egg of sorts, namely a brief video of a quite attractive Japanese girl in her underwear bikini. There is a second such interruption, but it is very unclear and dark." The next claim of this happening comes from DVDlock8.com. In it, someone mentions this happening and calls it a bonus feature. It essentially describes the same exact thing the OP saw, and under the same conditions, go to Shigure's Maggie file, wait a couple seconds, and then there's Annabelle Chong and her Annabelle thong. Sorry, I couldn't resist. So this proves something. The DVD the OP had was definitely not a bootleg, unless there were 4 separate incidents of Australians finding this Easter egg in the same exact bootleg DVD found at the same exact time, and somehow the bootleggers who made this DVD distributed far and wide for some reason left behind a bit of Annabelle Chong in the mix. It made more sense to believe that this was an issue that the DVD had alone. Yet there still was a problem. How come this little incident wasn't talked about? Clearly this was something that had happened in an official release of Evangelion, yet barely anybody talked about it. So let's assume that this is an Easter egg first off. That'd be very weird and out of place for an Easter egg. Yet stranger things have happened before. I remember when I first saw this video, I couldn't help but think about this one Easter egg in Metal Gear Solid 2 where, spoilers, the very climax of the game you play as a naked Raiden, and this is when things start to get weird. After exploring around naked for a bit, your map is briefly replaced by a woman in a bikini. This was totally intentional, as it was supposed to add to the odd things going around you. Yet in the context of Evangelion, this really doesn't make any sense at all. Yes, Evangelion can be very cerebral at times, and yes, Evangelion is definitely not innocent when it comes to fan service. It just doesn't seem like this clip has any meaning whatsoever, be it fan service or not. There is no purpose of this clip existing in an Evangelion anime collection. Plus, you see this green little rectangle here? That would indicate that your cursor is currently highlighting something, and because it's still highlighting something while playing this Anna Chong clip, that pretty much confirms that this was a mistake. Why would they still have that little box there? That would mean that they just forgot to remove it while the Easter egg was playing, if it were an Easter egg. But because it's still there, that would indicate that someone had put over a video on the timeline of this little menu loop, or whatever you want to call it. I then asked Ava Monkey if there were any other incidents of DVDs like this being recalled or anything like that, because my next thought was, well, if this isn't a bootleg, could it possibly be that this is an early version of the Collection 07 releases and it had to be recalled and fixed later in production? After all, it's not uncommon that companies essentially patch their own media with later releases. For example, when Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was released, there was a controversial song that Nintendo was very worried about. It was a song that used verses of the Quran as a sample. The The chanting part of the song was later removed in gray versions of the game as to prevent getting the Muslim community outraged over the song. Ava Monkey responded and said that there was an incident like that happening before, but not to this extent, and that being with the original Perfect Collection DVD, where they tried to reduce the jittering between cuts of the animation yet received a heavy amount of backlash, so the company in charge of the DVD had to revise this for the future releases. There was also a peculiar case where a line of dialogue in the dubbed version was dropped in the initial Volume 1 Platinum Collection and could be fixed if you mailed it in to them. Unfortunately, this was about as much information I could get out of Ava Monkey. He believed that the DVD the OP had was an exclusive Australian collection, and that made sense as the only individuals that had reported an Easter egg happening were Australians. But the thing is, Ava Monkey wasn't really that well versed when it came to Australian exclusive DVDs. He only knew about American and Japanese releases, so he suggested that if possible we should contact whoever did the authoring of the DVD itself and see if we can get answers from them. This was around the time when the OP provided more photos of the DVD itself and stated that when he had talked to the store owner who sold him the DVD in the first place, store owner just couldn't actually give him details on who gave him the DVD in the first place, which sucks, but we got something more interesting than that. The people who made the DVD. In the credits, we can see that the people who made the DVD were the fine folks over at Madman Entertainment, who still distribute DVDs to this day. And what do you know? They've got a social media account, so I finally asked them the question everyone's been asking, what the fuck? And this was their response. Hey there. It would appear this was a mistake while the DVD was being authored and produced back in the day, so definitely not intentional. I then followed up by asking just how this could have happened, in which they brought up Annabelle Chong's documentary, Sex, the Annabelle Chong Story, which is a DVD they had distributed in Australia before. While they don't know the specifics of what could have gone wrong with the Evangelion distribution, they do know it was just an authoring error. So there you have it. I know usually these kinds of mystery videos seemingly ends with endless amount of questions, which kind of keeps the whole thing creepy and shit, but fuck it, it's just an error that just slipped by. Now, it's possible that this collection wasn't even revised, and it could have affected every copy sent in Australia. It isn't unlikely when you consider most of the fan base of this anime is mainly in Japan and America, but I doubt it. I can't see how they could have possibly let this slip for a long time. And again, I'm no DVD expert, but I do know that these kinds of DVDs often go for a high price, don't they? Well, probably not this one, because it seems like barely anyone really noticed the error. Hopefully, with the making of this video, that can change soon enough. Maybe by then, Super Honda Nut could be in possession of a very rare and very pricey DVD. Or maybe not. I don't know shit about DVD collections, do you think I know? But in the end, all it turned out was a mistake. And mistakes just happen in these kinds of DVDs. Not all of them need to be cursed or haunted or anything like that. I mean, fuck it. If you look at the name of Shigure, it's messed up even then. Oh, wait a minute. Have I been saying the wrong name this entire time? Oh, fuck me. God. The song you're currently hearing in the background is called Closer by CLANN, aka Seb McKinnon, who is one of my favorite artists in Magic the Gathering. You can check out his music in the description down below. I want to do this new thing where I introduce you to a new song I'm listening to, because you guys always ask me like where do I find my music and stuff, so I like to spread the love. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like and comment on what you thought of today's video, and if you guys have ever experienced something as weird as this before. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and hey, if you want to support me even further, make sure to check out my Ko-fi in the link down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see y'all next time. I love y'all so much. Bye.